Welcome, everybody, back to the Nuggets of Gold podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about, I think, the most concerning part of the roster right now for the 49ers, the cornerback position. Now, specifically the cornerback 2 spot, like the outside corner spot. We know K'Wan Williams is going to be playing that nickel role. He's done that very well for a few years now. On the outside, cornerback number 1, it's pretty much locked in. Mr. Fifth-round rookie Diamador Lenore, who has just been great so far. Ton of responsibility on his plate, which is a little bit concerning, but so far he's absolutely stepped up to the plate. He's been a fantastic player. But then we kind of get to this cornerback 2 spot. Now, with Jason Verrett going down, typically the guy would be Emmanuel Moseley. However, it doesn't look like Emmanuel Moseley is going to be playing. So then if we look at the rest of this roster, there's a few guys that could fill the spot. The 2 guys that have played the most with this 49ers this offseason are going to be Ambry Thomas and Dante Johnson. I do not think that we want to see either of those guys on the outside right now, especially against this matchup against the Eagles, which they don't have like overwhelmingly great receivers, but I'm absolutely terrified of Devontae Smith. The man gets open against any corner, so you start putting a guy like Dante Johnson or a guy like Ambry Thomas, both those guys who struggled heavily last week and have struggled in the preseason and for Dante Johnson's case in years past, that's going to be a very, very favorable matchup for the Eagles. And when I look at how the 49ers could lose this game, because they should be able to take care of business. I get that the Eagles are coming off of a huge win and the Niners aren't technically coming off of a huge win, but you take away the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds where you have backup players and you have a guy fumble and you have an onside kick get messed up. Like, it's a 3-possession win. So it would have been a massive win over the Lions. I think their play shows that they should have really beat the Lions badly. But on the Eagles side, the Eagles absolutely destroyed the Falcons. They were great. So you got to give credit where it's due. You go out there, you win week 1 like that, you're going to put the league on notice a little bit. Hey, this team might not be like, because I think a lot of people just thought the Eagles were going to suck. Their roster is better than I think most people think, but that's the matchup I think that is the most scary if you're a 49ers fan. If you're, 49ers player, the outside corner spot, if they start really picking on that guy and he cannot hang, it could be really scary for the Niners. And I don't think that they're hoping for Diamador Lenore to shadow Devontae Smith. Like, this is what's so crazy is that this dude is a 5th-round rookie, and it's like, oh, he could shadow Devontae Smith. Like, that shouldn't even be discussed. But right now, it seems like he's the best guy on the roster. Now, 2 other guys that could potentially fill the role: Josh Norman, Dre Kirkpatrick. I really doubt that Dre Kirkpatrick is that guy this week. He's been in the building for a very small amount of time. I also doubt that Josh Norman is that guy, just because he's also not been in the organization that long. But it could happen, and he could get put up to that role, and we could see him at cornerback too. But those are those 4 guys vying for that spot. Aiden, who do you think is going to play there this weekend?
So I think the guy taking the starting snaps right now is Josh Norman, who's been here, I think, 2 weeks now. Signed him before the Verrett injury, so he's been in there longer than Kirkpatrick has. I think he's the guy who they're going to trot out, and they're going to try to throw him out there against Devontae Smith, Raygor, and the rest of this young Eagles receiving core. I think he's going to be the guy. I just don't want to see Dante Johnson. That's like, if you want to throw Ambry Thomas in there and he gets cooked, fine. But I do not want to see Dante Johnson out there. I'd rather see Dre Kirkpatrick. He wasn't on any team and he just got signed, so I think he's probably the least likely candidate. But I expect to see Norman out there. That's probably what I would do. He's a former first-team All-Pro. Had a rough last couple of years, but some of that stuff was a little bit overblown. I went back and looked, and people just remember him getting baptized by Derrick Henry, which is fair. You're not gonna they're not gonna let you forget that. But he was a starting caliber player, played a lot of snaps for a really good Bills team last year. And I was surprised that they didn't bring it back. I think his age had something to do with that. He's a guy who, after he left the Panthers, struggled with some attitude problems, but I think a couple of years of not playing a whole lot are going to shift that attitude. It'll be super interesting to see. He's the guy that I expect to see there. Hopefully he's sticky and can win that spot. But I think it'll kind of be a revolving door at that cornerback 2 spot until they either trade for somebody like a Cameron Dantzler. I'd love to see a CJ Henderson trade. There's a corner from the Broncos that I know is being talked about at least a little bit.
Bryce Callahan?
Other one, he's got a last name that's hard to pronounce with an O.
Oh, he's super young.
Yes.
I know you're talking about, yeah.
A guy like Greedy Williams, I could see being on the block. So I think before a trade, Josh Norman is going to be that guy, at least this week. Maybe he gets cooked this week and they got to throw in Mr. PI himself, Dante Johnson. Hopefully we don't have to see that, but I mean, it'll be a challenge, but as good as Devontae Smith is, that's a bottom fifth. That's a bottom half receiving core in the league. You're gonna take that for your first start. You're not going against like the Bills or something like that. You don't have to deal with Devontae Adams or Diggs or Hopkins or something like that. But I think it'll be super interesting. I expect Josh Norman to be the guy, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I do think that the guy that they would want in this spot would be Josh Norman. The only thing that scares me is, say Jimmy Ward or Kwasi Tart were to go down in the game, even if it was for like 5 snaps, the back end just communication might not really be there. I don't know like how comfortable Josh Norman is. Obviously, we're not watching practice every day. We don't know how he's looking in there. But if his communication is good with those two guys, and if potentially Tavon Wilson had to come in and they feel comfortable that they can communicate on the back end, then I think he's the best option. I do think that as well. I'm just a little bit concerned that's the case because, I mean, we've seen like if you have a guy that just gets lost, we saw it with Tarvarius Moore in the back end a little bit last year when he was playing some free. If you just like get lost back there and it's cover 3 and someone just misses their spot, that's a touchdown. Like that's 7 points or 6 points pretty much every time. So it's a little bit concerning on that end. That's why I'm a little bit worried about like, okay, how comfortable is he in the system? Now, he's been in quite a few systems now. If they feel like, you know, he's played in some similar spots, he knows like what he's doing back there. He is a veteran player, so getting to speed is probably a little bit easier for him. I would feel that he would be the best guy to go out there. Dre Kirkpatrick is probably very unlikely that he's ready to go right now. But I do think he's that first guy off the bench when Emmanuel Mosley comes back as well. So also trades, you brought him up. Those guys are very likely that could happen. And this Eagles receiving core, one other guy that you could mention besides Rager and Devontae Smith is Quez Watkins. He's kind of emerged lately this offseason. People kind of feel like he's the second option and not Rager, which is really interesting because Rager was picked right before Justin Jefferson. So that one hurts a lot. But so this is going to, I mean, their best receiving weapons too, outside of Devontae Smith, are Goddard and Ertz. Ertz is a little bit banged up, but I think he's playing. So a lot of it, once again, if you listen to our video yesterday, linebacking core is key to this win. As long as the cornerback too can just hold his own and play solid football, keep the guys in front of him, that's a recipe to win. So those are the 2 spots. You just don't want to see someone come out there and just get absolutely cooked like all game where it's, damn, this Eagles offense just moving the football on one guy, because that is when it really, really hurts. So also, anyone listening, comment who you guys think should start at cornerback 2 spot. Also, we didn't mention Stephon Gilmore today, but he's a guy that people have brought up as a potential trade. If there's another guy that we didn't mention or Stephon Gilmore and you think that's a guy they should go after, please let us know who you think they are. We'll make videos on some of these potential trade partners later because I definitely want to talk about Cameron Dantzler a little bit. His value is so weird. Like, I have no idea what it's going to be because on one end, he was an all-rookie first-team player that was a 3rd rounder. On the other end, he just got benched. So where's it at? I couldn't tell you. But there's going to be a lot of guys. CJ Henderson, former top round, like early first half of the first round pick, he's getting chopped. He's getting like not benched because he's still playing, but he's getting put into a lower tier like corner. You know, he's not their main guy that they hoped he could be. So definitely a lot of names out there that can be discussed. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you very soon.